guys, good morning. I apologize in advance if I sound miserable, and it also happens to be the reason why I am not out on Inferno right now. I managed to pick up a pretty nasty cold, and I would prefer to be doing this when I'm not falling apart, but here we are. So I figured rather than our typical kind of long form discussions that we normally do, I would do something a little different and go back to kind of a garage update more or less. So as you can see, the bike is still here. Nothing out of the ordinary, no leaks, no craziness there. Inferno's doing great. Still loves just chilling here, which is incredible to me that a machine like this, especially Italian, just gives zero shits and starts up every time. It's pretty awesome, honestly. Definitely couldn't say that about my MV. But other than that, you'll notice there's a hell of a lot more lighting in here than the last time that you saw this freaking area. And that's because I added another hexagon light to the ceiling and I took down those power strips that I had. Yeah, it's a little misaligned, but whatever. I basically had to get it as close to the center as I possibly could. And in doing so, I ran into the actual light fixture that I'm tied into. It's not the greatest setup in the world, trust me. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Kind of looks a little messy, so I don't know. I gotta work on it and see if I can make it a little better. But for now, I'm not looking up at it, so I don't really care that much. But yeah, other than that, just a little bit of cleaning and tidying up in here. And then obviously our newest member of the garage, Midnight, is in here as well. So Midnight, I did not give a proper real rundown of this car. This honestly kind of happened a little bit like a knee-jerk reaction. So Midnight is a 2025 M340i X-Drive and basically has just about every single option ticked apart from I think it's the driver's assistance package, which includes the radar guided cruise control module here and works with all the sensors to basically be almost a self-drive type of system. I don't know specifically how all that works, but I'm just kind of glad I don't have it, to be honest, because it's just one more thing that can get taken out from road debris and is probably fairly expensive to replace. So as you can tell, I've added a few things to it. When I got this car, it was completely stock, and I mean there was nothing done to it. No tint, nothing. Had 6,300 miles and some change from the first owner. First owner picked it up early 2025 and swapped it on an X3M, to the best of my knowledge. But it still kind of begs the question of okay, what exactly were they thinking if they spent all this money, especially on the original window sticker for this car, just to swap it that quickly? Kind of crazy to me. But anyway, I digress. It's got Ultimate Care Plus, it's got the remainder of the factory warranty, and it also received BMW's certified pre-owned on top of all of that. So this car essentially is covered warranty-wise and maintenance-wise. Well, maintenance-wise, it's covered until 2028. I don't have to spend a dime on it, which is incredible. I mean, a little over 2 years worth of me not having to do shit is amazing. On the other hand, any kind of parts or anything like that, it's all covered until 2030 plus. I don't have the specific date off the top of my head, but that's amazing. I don't have to do a damn thing to this car, and BMW just takes care of it. Which, I mean, for a 25, and especially given what's going on with tariffs and the expenses that are wrapped into these cars nowadays, that's a huge win. I picked this up knowing full well that I was definitely going to be spending more money. and I was okay with that. You know, the biggest question that I've gotten so far from most of the people that know me is, why didn't I go for an M3? Why did I go for the baby M car, so to speak? And honestly, the biggest reason, apart from price being the obvious one, I like the looks of this a hell of a lot better than the M3. If you look at the G80 front end, it's a very, you either love it or hate it front end. I've gotten to the point now where I understand why M did what they did, but at the same time, I'm still not like totally in love with the styling of it. I like it better than I first did, especially in darker colors. But to me, the LCI, which is what this front end is on the M340, and even the new 330, the LCI updates that they did in 2023 really make a huge difference. It's such a better looking car than it used to be. I never liked the original G20 when it first came out. I thought it looked too much like a Lexus, and the headlights, with their little notches that they had, like right there, I just didn't like it. It wasn't my cup of tea at all. So I never drove one. I'll be honest, it's been years since I drove any of the F-Series cars. Obviously, apart from the wife's M2, which is currently gone because she took it out for an appointment today. But I was never a huge fan of any of the G-Series cars. I thought they looked way different than what they should. I've had multiple BMWs over the years now, a couple E46s, a couple E92s, and the F-Series was the first generation I completely skipped myself. Obviously, the wife didn't. She picked up her M2, and quite frankly, I think her M2 is the better looking of all the M2s that they've produced so far. That said, though, the new CS that just came out here from M Division actually looks the business, especially in velvet blue. I think that is a gorgeous looking car, and it's really changed my opinion of the G Series M2. But looks aside, if you've paid attention at all over the last couple years, the G Series, especially the G80, M3 and M4 G82, they have gone up significantly in price. We're talking, at least in the last 3 to 4 years, the car has exceeded a $20,000 almost. No, maybe not quite that. It's more like a $12,000 to $15,000 base price upcharge from when they first came out. And I understand inflation plays a role into that, and so do the tariffs, but you cannot convince me that the tariffs are the sole reason for that, especially that much of a price hike. I think that's more BMW trying to jump on the customer demand bandwagon, and they're just trying to make as much money as they possibly can before the new class cars come out, which so far I am not looking forward to, just based on all the spy shots and everything that I've seen. I think the next generation 3 Series is going to be a huge departure from this kind of styling, and I am not looking forward to it at all, which is why I jumped on this car as quick as I could. I literally bought this on the 31st of December, so the last day of the year, to make a deal. And they made me an insane offer on the Stinger and an insane deal with this. So I was like, all right, let's do it. No looking back now. So the 2025 M340i, what do we get? Well, it's a Gen 3 B58, which is, there's still a lot of unknowns with this engine. Some of the big ones that I know of, at least, changes. The DME is now a Continental-based system. any kind of unlocks or anything like that with like femto and auto tune and all that jazz, completely null and void at this point because they have not been able to crack the Continental ECU yet. I guess beyond security, one of the main reasons that they changed to it is because the Continental system is actually able to control a lot of the advanced technology that they packed into the Gen 3. For instance, the Gen 3 now has 12 fuel injectors instead of 6. It has 6 direct injectors, as typical with most BMWs since basically 2007. But on top of that, it also now has 6 port fuel injectors tied in as well. So carbon blasting is no longer a thing, obviously. But beyond that, it also expands a hell of a lot of power opportunities. So until we get it unlocked and the community gets it unlocked and starts really playing with this engine, it's a lot of theoreticals. We don't really know what this engine is totally capable of yet. But my guess, based on the fact that most tuned Gen 2s and Gen 1s, especially with port injection, can exceed over 700 wheel, I would imagine that this is going to be probably close, if not a little higher up, before we really need to start diving into bigger and beefier parts. Especially with all the other changes that they've made. I guess the oiling system has been improved again. There's been cylinder head changes, just small revisions as far as I know. I don't know if they changed anything in the rotating assembly. I don't think they did. There might be a small compression change, but again, I don't know. And that's, until somebody really pulls one of these apart and really dives through it, I don't have answers for that. But I do know that this thing runs on 0 weight 17 oil and can run 0 weight 20. I'm not a fan of either of those because it's basically water. But apparently, according to BMW, that those are safe oils for this thing to run. I guess the oiling system is such that it can run in track conditions and it doesn't matter. So, I don't know. I'm not planning on testing the theory of running thicker weight oil or anything like that while I'm under warranty. As far as I'm concerned, if this thing blows up, that's on BMW. I'm not planning on testing it myself and being out of pocket for it. What have I done so far? Well, obviously, I've added a little bit of ground effects to it. So it's got I think it's a V10 splitter up front. By the way, all of the mods that I've done visually, they are primarily focused on just keeping the stealth kind of focus, because this has the M Focus driver package and options. So it has the extended shadow line basically everywhere for the trim. And I wanted to really keep going with that rather than add a ton of gaudy ass carbon fiber to this car. So what I did was I specifically went for things that were just gloss black and ABS black, just to keep that theme going. Especially considering the fact that this is my daily driver and it will see snow. So if something like this gets broken, that's a hell of a lot cheaper to replace than, crying about $1,000 splitter that got taken out by road debris. Beyond that though, the whole front end has had XPEL PPF added. I don't remember specifically what type it is. It's like Ultimate or whatever it is from Speed FX here in Colorado. These guys did amazing work. So the whole front end is PPF'd, including the fenders, the full hood, and the side mirrors. So basically everything from the driver forward is all PPF. And on top of that, I had the windows done. So now we have some proper tint. Hello everyone. I have been obsessive about trying to make this paint as flawless as I possibly can. Obviously, not being owner number one, there's certain things I just can't fix to a certain level that I'm not comfortable going crazy with in terms of polishing, but I think I did a pretty damn good job otherwise. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but obviously added the side skirt. It does have the cutouts for the door puddle lamps, so that way those still work. These have the black, I don't even know what style this is. They've changed wheels about 4 billion times at this point, so I don't even remember what style this is, but it's got the M badged or M performance badged wheels. They're a square setup with all seasons, and I'm not the biggest fan of these all seasons. They're Bridgestones, and they're run flats on top of that, so that's not great. You can obviously feel that when you're driving it. I have the red calipers, which is a huge win. I love the red. Just enough offset. And then, obviously, I swapped out the little trim spoiler thing that BMW puts on these now. It's like this thin. This was a pain in the ass to swap out because obviously it had been on there long enough that the adhesive that they use basically was almost rock hard. So finally got that pulled off, got this installed, and I like the way that this looks now. I was very on the fence about how I was gonna approach doing a wing on this car, and I think overall it actually looks not so bad. It adds to the aesthetic pretty well. Obviously, it's got the gloss black diffuser. It's literally just a plastic panel. There's nothing fancy about it. It doesn't have the M Performance exhaust on it. However, because 2025, they changed to the Gen 3 engine, they've also changed the exhaust layout in these cars. So the entire exhaust system from the downpipe back is literally like a straight pipe to the muffler, which has valve control. There's no resonators or anything in this exhaust. But the problem is the valve, even in Sport Plus or anything like that, it never actually truly goes into full open mode. They still reserve a small bit of travel before it actually is like allowed to fully breathe. I don't know why they did that, but I'm guessing it had something to do with emissions or noise pollution or whatever. So what I did was I got the 11 mode controller, which is literally just a plug and play wire that goes in, and then it has a remote fob and allows the valve to go full open on command. And then when I press the other button, it just returns all the programming back to stock. So no codes, no nonsense like that. It doesn't trigger anything in the car. Very easy to install. It took me like 5 minutes. Seriously, it's two connectors. That's it. And it just sits right next to the valve. Beyond that, I added some stickers. Seriously, I haven't done anything really crazy or outlandish to this car, and part of the reason is I just don't want to. This thing is so covered nose to tail with warranty coverage that it's stupid to even think about it. I do want to do some type of intake and possibly change the catback. But other than that, I don't really want to mess with it too awful much, just because I'm very happy with it overall. I do have the painted side reflectors on hand. I just need to get these swapped out. They're Tanzanite blue from IND distribution. And it shouldn't take me that long to do it. I just haven't done it yet. Part of the reason I'm waiting is because I got to figure out if they PPF'd over those and how I'm going to go about swapping that without distorting the PPF work they did. I may end up having them just do it, honestly, just to cover my ass, because I don't want to ruin the PPF before it's had a chance to truly sit on this car. I still need to go back for its 2-week eval with speed effects to make sure everything looks good. There's a few areas that I've noticed that kind of look like they need some love, but nothing too crazy. The one thing I did do yesterday, though, because this is all polished out and everything about as best as I can get it, is I did apply 3-year ceramic coating from Clean by Pan the Organizer. Very easy to apply ceramic coating, by the way. A huge, huge fan of it. Very nice. Works really well. And I think the results speak for themselves. The coating's been on the car for about, just shy of 24 hours. And I think it's cured very well. It looks good. I don't see any high spots or anything. Super easy to buff on and buff off. As far as the interior goes, I did add some 3D mats, all-weather mats to the car. So this has the black extended leather or full leather package with the blue stitch. It has the carbon fiber trim option. It has the M Sport steering wheel with the red stripe. This is my current mileage count. So I have been driving this and I've been loving every second of it. A fantastic car so far. It does have the galvanized controls instead of just the standard black. So that was another option that got ticked. Like I said, this thing got pretty loaded up in terms of options. It was a little insane, honestly. Obviously, I'll show you the back here. Nothing too crazy to show, obviously. And obviously there's a trunk, but I don't really think you guys give a rat's ass about that. We'll show you under the hood briefly. There's nothing too crazy going on under there that's really worth talking about. It's mostly just covered in plastic. All right, there we go. So nothing too crazy or outlandish under here. This does have a mild hybrid system in it. So the mild hybrid battery actually sits right there. It's literally, I don't know, like the size of a milk jug. It's not that big. And then obviously you can see like the purple wiring that goes to it. But essentially what that thing is a battery reserve power unit for the electric motor that's in the transmission. And that electric motor, it gives you like 11 horsepower, which, I mean, it's pointless from that aspect. However, what it does do is it helps smooth out the shifts, make this thing super, super quick in terms of like reacting. And it also acts as a motor starter unit. So when this thing fires up from cold, it obviously uses a traditional starter. However, when you get into start stop, it'll actually use that electric motor to decouple the transmission, allow the engine to shut down and coast. And then when the car fires back up for any reason, whether it needs to, because it's, you know, like, hey, I'm sitting on battery, I need to keep going. Or obviously you press the throttle and driver is commanded, you know, power, it'll start the engine back up with that electric motor. So how they did that is they changed where all of the timing set and the Vanos and the chain sit on the engine. So this engine is actually reverse layout from a traditional engine. So on older BMWs like N55, N54, and a lot of like S55 and things like that, everything was up front like a traditional motor. Now, because BMW figured out that it was causing a bunch of stress and wear and tear on all those consumable parts, they moved all that to the backside of the engine closer to the transmission to reduce the amount of shock on the actual system. So what you gain from that is obviously longer service life, less, stress on the parts of the timing components and Vanos and all that. But what you also gain is a bigger pain in the ass if you ever have to maintain it. Like if you gotta fix it for any reason, you gotta pull this motor out. There's just no other way to it. I mean, the whole thing's got to get dropped and worked on once the transmission gets separated. It sucks, but it is what it is. There's trade-offs for everything. And it looks like I was actually mistaken on the oil weight. It's 0W12. Yeah, so definitely not a huge fan of that. Not even a little bit. But that said, I mean, this thing produces over 400 horsepower with that. So, if it grenades with that oil, that's again, it's on them. It's not my fault, because I am not messing with this thing. I want to make sure that if anything does happen, it's on their dime, not mine. And then obviously you can see down here, little spoolie boy. I don't remember exactly what size turbo this thing is, but I do know that it is a 2-port system, which is just baffling to me that they managed to figure that out rather than your traditional 6-port. Oh yeah, one of the other big things that they changed for 25, the downpipe itself. So the downpipe, and it's gonna be hard to see in there. I'm gonna have to grab a flashlight. But one of the other big things that they changed for 25, I don't know if you can see it or not. This thing's probably gonna have a hell of a time trying to focus. Down there is a gas particulate filter in front of the actual catalytic converter. So yeah, we have a GPF on top of our cat, which is absolutely fucking insane to me that we've actually gotten to this level. So what I will say is at least BMW's been smart and they've managed to make these things about as efficient as they possibly can be. So if you did, for whatever reason, want to remove that, realistically, I don't think you're gonna make a ton of power without it. So far, the only testing that we've seen has been like 11 horsepower at the wheels just by going to a traditional straight pipe. So from that aspect, it's very efficient. My only problem with it is the amount of noise that it cuts down. You cannot hear this thing when it's all in, complete quiet mode, which is great, but I expect my BMWs to have a little bit more fun and noise to them than that. So even with the valves fully open on this car, it's still very quiet, in my opinion at least. It sounds better, but it's definitely not totally my cup of tea. I would prefer a little bit more life and emotion from my vehicles, but... So anyway, that's been more or less the garage update. Hopefully this wasn't too awful boring. As a reminder, I am still looking for OG members to reach out for their codes. If you missed it in the last video, I detailed that we have the giveaway. It is officially live on falconfixer.com. Obviously, do not get spooked by what you're seeing online in terms of the price, because when people reach out for those first 25 shirts, you will be getting those free of charge. Like I said, you're not going to be charging any dollar profit whatsoever for those on the OG shirts. For those of you that are literally just thinking about getting shirts or hats or anything like that, I'm still working on a few more designs that I want to post up, but just know for now, I do have some codes available. One is going to be related to shipping. So if you make a purchase of, I think it's $80 or more, you'll get free shipping attached to that. The code is going to be posted on the screen. And then as a launch bonus for everyone that is thinking about getting anything, I've also included a 10% off discount. I was initially planning on that just being like a 1-week run, but we are probably going to extend that at least through March. After that, I might pull it back down. I haven't really decided yet. That may end up staying up at least until maybe after 4th of July. I haven't really decided yet. So if you want to take advantage of that, feel free to. If not, totally your choice. Like I said, I'm still working on a few ideas and products, so just give me some time to kind of come up with what I want to really put up there, because right now we just kind of have some basic things. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry again, I sound like trash and we're not actually riding, but figured we'd do something a little different today. And I will catch you in the next video. Take it easy.